So now Tolec is a human representative of the Andromeda Council, an intergalactic governance and development body of aligned, benevolent star systems and planets for worlds in both the Milky Way and Andromeda galaxies. The tiered members of the Andromeda Council comprise a total of 12 distinct representative member races from 12 different worlds. They are comprised of some third-dimensional people, like Earth humans, but mostly fourth and fifth and some sixth-dimensional people. Think of it much like an intergalactic United Nations. He's been given the name Tolec, which is simply a public persona work name by the 5 people with whom he communicates, who are stationed on the primary Andromeda Council biosphere, where many of its meetings are held. Tolec says he was first physically contacted in 1993 by his principal Andromedan contact, a commander from the planet Dakote, D-A-K-O-T-E, who took him on 3 closely clustered together but separate time travel trips via an Andromedan scout craft back in time to the 1840s to an area of rural Kentucky or West Virginia in the United States to observe a family of 4 in their day-to-day life struggles. Tolec's Andromeda Council contacts indicate they have been in touch with him by various means since the age of 5. His physical Andromeda contacts ended subsequent to his 1993 time travel experience until the same commander with the Andromeda Council from 1993 contacted him again in September 2010. Tolec says communication with his Andromeda Council contacts happens via a number of modalities, and I'll name you 4. The first one, telepathic communication. Actually, I'll name you 5. So telepathic communication, communication in the dream state, visions both in the dream state and wide awake, fully conscious, some automatic writing, and finally interdimensional travel of his soul essence to Andromeda Council flagged biospheres, where many council and subcommittee meetings are held. His Andromeda Council contacts indicate it has a number of biospheres, 12 at this time, large planetoid spacecraft stationed around Earth, and that these are complete living and working environments. The primary Andromeda Council biosphere that he visits, where he attends many of the council subcommittee and advisory board meetings, this biosphere is about the size of Pluto, has 26 stories, is powered by a crystalline fusion generator, or crystalline, depending on your accent. So a fusion generator, an executive staff of 15 officers, and a crew complement of 50,000 people and their families. He says this one biosphere, so this is, let me back up. This is where a lot of the meetings happen, and it's about the size of Pluto, 26 stories, and so 50,000 people, grosso modo. He says this one biosphere can hold upward of 2 million people at full capacity. Welcome to the show, Tolec.
Hi there. Good evening. Yes, you're right. That is a mouthful.
Well, you know,
there's a lot of detail there.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just get right into the subject. You've spoken a lot about your experiences with the Andromeda Councils in other videos and radio shows, and I do encourage everybody to go and just type in Tolec in a Google search, and you'll find a whole bunch of really cool information. But tonight he wanted to make a special show, one geared towards what he's not much developed before. So, Tolec, go ahead. Tell us about these biospheres and the system.
Sure. Okay. The Andromeda Council, and by the way, this is not supposed to be one-sided. As I'm describing things, if I touch on topics that I'm not clear about, go ahead and step in and answer. I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Sure.
The Andromeda Council as a functioning, operating intergalactic and interstellar entity is thousands, tens of thousands, thousands and thousands of years old. Of course, like any organization, it started smaller with a few star systems and planets, and now today it has 12 senior members, and the senior members include a star system and its senior-most homeworld. And the ones that are listed on the Andromeda Council website, those are the senior-most 12 members of the Council. Each planet has an ambassador, and he or she has somebody that's a backup to that ambassador, if you will, a vice ambassador or a diplomat. In case something happens to that primary person, the other person can step in.
Does that mean, I'm going to cut you with spontaneous questions if you don't mind, Tolec.
Sure, go ahead.
Does that mean that all the planets represented on the Andromeda Council have both sex, female and male?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, yes. And we might get there later, but it seems that this is the natural path of the conversation anyway. Well, you know how these things go. I mean, they never take a straight road. The 12 council members that are listed are the senior council members. They've been part of the council for a long time. Again, for clarification, for people that may have not heard this term before, think of it as an intergalactic and interstellar governmental body, much like an intergalactic UN, if you will, intergalactic United Nations, except this one actually has a peacekeeping force, a police force that has teeth. And I'll get into that in a later discussion, but beyond the 12 senior members, and people will see this on the second page of the website, there's a listing down below of subcommittees and advisory boards.
Right.
Many of the Andromeda Council members who are, for lack of a better word, a member of junior status. They're part of the council, but they have not been on the council for a long time. A lot of these planets participate here in the subcommittees and the advisory boards. And the work is as extensive as taking a close look at, okay, there's a planet who has indicated an interest to join this intergalactic and interstellar governmental body. All right, well, where are they? Where are their people at? Where are they at emotionally? Where are they at in terms of their spiritual evolvement? Are they third dimensional? Are they fourth? How far have they progressed technology-wise? Are they ready for this kind of commitment? Are they safe? Are they people that bring calmness and peacefulness? And will they have a contribution that will bring an overall benefit to the whole council, to everybody involved? And the issues, they also look at issues like, planetary composition, gases, all sorts of scientific stuff. They look at the sociology of a planet. Are there complex issues going on? Is there one race? Are there 3, 4, 5, 6, like we have here on Earth? We have what we would consider to be one human race, but it's evolved over years from the planetary settling of a lot of different humanoid races from all throughout the star system. So we have different languages, different cultures, different theologies. This would be considered a very complex planet.
Right, but does that mean that there's segregation in terms of who may belong to the Andromeda Council system?
Oh, no. What I'm talking about is the kind of issues that are looked at in the review.
I see, in subcommittees. Right.
Right, in subcommittees and advisory boards, the kind of issues that are looked at during the review process prior to the approval of a planet being approved to be a member of the Andromeda Council's vast complement of planets and star systems. I mean, I'll just go through a few of them. There's an exobiology board. There's a xenobiology board. There's an oceanography board. There's a space-time dimensional flight technology review board. How far have these people advanced in technology? There's a medical review board. There's a universal education review board that assesses at what level do they teach. All of these issues are at hand, and all I was really trying to express is the fact that there is a place for the people who are junior members of the Andromeda Council to work and participate and contribute to the whole process. That's all I was saying.
Uh-huh.
That's all I was attempting to say.
So it sounds like it's a kind of a group that comes together to discuss their specificities and how they can participate to the global. Is there a global mission of the Andromeda Council as a mission statement or something that everybody has to abide to? And just write down those questions in the back of your mind, if you will. But I also heard of the Syrian Council. Does that mean that there are spaces, galactic spaces, that belong to either one council or another council? How do they interact together? And for those who are not taken into, like for those who it seems to me that there's a possibility that a planet who's wishing to become part of the Andromeda Council is kind of refused for some XYZ reason. Do they become bad guys? How does the Andromeda Council interact after that refute?
That's a reasonable question. First of all, you touched on a few things, so I'll take the first one. I honestly don't have any intelligence or knowledge about a Syrian council, as in being a council having to do with the Syrian star system, or any other. I can speak about the protocols and the guidelines and ethics of the Andromeda Council, but I'm not aware of the others. Now, to address the most recent thing you asked about, there is always a redress process. Like any council or board, when a matter comes up for discussion, it gets introduced for the first time. If there is discussion that's needed beyond the normal discussion where they can get it to a vote, then it gets tabled and it goes to an executive committee. And the executive committee will spend time reviewing, discussing whatever the issues are that surround that particular topic or that particular planet, and they'll come up again in another meeting or again in another meeting until there's resolution. And that they do that for any issue, not only the application of a potential member planet, but any issue that needs discussion that can't be handled in its first time introduction.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, in terms of your own participation, you were. I'm just going to backtrack for a bit of background in this, sure. In terms of structure, because it sounds like there is a kind of a. I'm not going to call it pyramidal, but there is obviously a structure to the whole system, right? Right. You kind of like a rake structure. How would you define the structure?
It's circular. It is circular.
Okay.
Yeah, there are levels, but it's circular. As an example, specifically, the Andromeda Council, as a board, if you will, as a governing body, has 12 ambassadors from 12 different key star systems and their senior planets. So you've got, I'm going to invent a name, Ambassador Lichta from the Apnar star system. I just created those two out of thin air. He's just one ambassador from one star system, and there are 11 others from 11 other star systems that have senior status on this council, and the council itself is all about high-level governance. It's about establishing guidelines and protocols for how planets treat each other, for how each planet will share its resources, how each planet will contribute its resources, and certainly not to its detriment ever. A planet, and this is sort of one of the guiding principles, is that there will never be a time where they allow a planet to contribute to its detriment. Things always have to be in balance. The health, if you will, the health of the people and the health of their society, each one is important as it's part of the whole. That's the best way for me to say it. And my role, I am part of, when I'm up there, I have a role on what's known as the Earth Committee. I'm responsible for reporting to the people that are on the Earth Subcommittee as Earth evolves as a planet, because they are anticipating that sometime down the road there will be a formal invitation for the planet Earth to join through the 10th member of the Andromeda Council, which is the original galactic federation from the Tau Ceti star system.
Could you spell that for me?
Spell Tau Ceti for you?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. It's T-A-U, and the second word is Ceti, C-E-T-I. I'm doing that from memory.
Okay.
Yep. And think of the Galactic Federation as the Andromeda Council's day-to-day management company. For whatever high-level protocols and actions of conduct, how people should treat each other, how people should trade, all of the protocols that are put into place, the people from the Andromeda Council act as the management company to make sure that planets are treating each other the way that they should, that trade guidelines are abided by, that nobody's resources are depleted, that if there are discussions that elevate into arguments, that there's recourse if somebody gets attacked. Again, day-to-day management company kind of issues.
Right. So
they're actually, they're two very distinct different entities. And the Andromeda Council happens to be, it has its own council of 5 people, and it has its own chairman, because it brings with it 140 star systems and 300 planets on its own. It's been around for a long time. And I'm going here in detail with this subject because that's the body that Earth will be able to join as part of, to have a role within the Andromeda Council.
Right. So first of all, let's make it clear, sure. The Earth right now does not belong to the Andromeda Council. It hasn't been, let's say, voted in to be part of the Andromeda Council. If it were to be part of the Andromeda Council in the near future, it would be at what level? The subcommittee level?
Well, no, actually, as I mentioned, the people from Tau Ceti, that star system, they are the 10th senior member of the Andromeda Council. So that by virtue of Earth being a member of the Tau Ceti's membership, Earth automatically has senior status in terms of Andromeda Council membership. And it's probably more important to point out that it's probably more important to point out that Earth is going to, at least based on what I've been told, there's going to be an invitation to the planet Earth, a formal invitation to join, and Earth's own representation will be something called the Joint Earth Council. And it will have its own delegates or diplomats, and it will be able to participate at many levels throughout the Galactic Federation as well as the Andromeda Council. Why? Because both serve each other. One is a day-to-day management company. The other one has to do with high-level governance.
Okay. So, have your contacts said anything about what human ranking or social classification system these people would come from? Would it come from bodies of government, or would it come from people like you who have knowledge, self-awareness, consciousnness of being?
Now I understand your question. This is going to be a global answer because this is as much as so far. This is as much thought or discussion that we've gotten into about it. What they've said to me is that your planet's leading edge thinkers, your planet's futurists, the people who are quite bright, well respected, but certainly not necessarily part of the system that exists today. And I mean, I don't know them by name, but there are probably people that are at the top of their profession in chemistry or biology.
Right.
People that are at the top of their profession as public policy doctorates, if you will. No, but not necessarily. But it's not that they're part of the system. It's that they're bright and they're futurist thinking, and to use an old phrase, they think out of the box. They'll be able to create. They'll be able to come together and create this council from a wide breadth of really bright, future-thinking people who want a different world for Earth, and not at all out of the existing system.
Okay, I have so many questions. No, yeah, it does. But I'm gonna give the mic over to Quinny because I just have so many questions. I don't want to have our listeners think that I'm the only one with questions. Quinny, what are the questions asked in the chat room?
Well, from Mike Rich, he asks, is the cosmic event that we are currently awaiting in any way connected to the prophecy of the popes that Alex Collier talked about?
Okay, we don't know what Alex Collier talked about, and the only prophecy of the popes that I know about is the one that the girl from Fatima handed over to the Pope, and that is more of an image than, it's very pictorial. So I'm not sure that's the one. And the coming cosmic event that we are awaiting, what would that be? I mean, we're having the only cosmic event to my mind is the alignment, the planetary alignment, the center of what we call our own, the center alignment to our own galaxy, which is in process. We're doing it already. We're in the process of. Right. So we're feeling all this change right now.
Right, but that's not the question this person is asking, because I know what it's about, because I've been telling people there is a cosmic event coming that will be the trigger for something else. And what I'd like to do here is two things. I have probably no less than 30 minutes of material about the Andromeda Council, the major issues that they consider, and it's concentrated. It's concentrated information. So rather than go to the chat room, I'm happy to go to the chat room, but I'd rather do it after I get through this material.
Okay, great. Let's do that.
No,
and I'll extend, Tolec, if you'll allow me. We have an hour left. I can extend the show while longer if you need so. So just let me know.
Okay. Well, we will, like myself and other friends say, we'll go with the flow.
Cool.
It's okay. Since the question's on the table, I'll answer it, and that way we can dispense with it. So, because it's probably going to come up 4 or 5 other times. The cosmic event that people are waiting for, a number of people ask me about, and there's 2 answers. One is it has nothing to do with the 8.4 and or 8.7 or 9 earthquakes in Sumatra with an M. It has nothing to do with the quakes in Mexico or Michigan. There will be a quake event, but that's not the point. The point is that there is a cosmic event coming in the future. It has to do with an earthquake, but it's not going to be catastrophic. It will be so unusual to the degree that people are going to scratch their heads and going, what is going on here? This doesn't make sense. And when that happens, I will release the written report and the video on the destruction of the last undersea reptilian base. That's my full answer on the cosmic event.
Okay, you just opened up a whole wormhole of other questions, but let's go back to the Andromeda Council and the subcommittees and do that part.
Thank you. Okay. There are some really big issues that are on the table that are worth addressing, and I want to address, but I'm going to go back to structure first. Stuff that people don't know. It can be a little pedestrian, but I think it's worth knowing because it's commonly not out there, it's not known. The chairman of the Andromeda Council, he would be considered the equivalent of the UN General Secretary, all right, so for relevancy.
Okay.
He can serve, now keep in mind we're talking about a person who is upper 4th dimensional or 5th dimensional so that his lifespan, as we would understand it, is in thousands of years.
Right.
5,000,
I'd love to do his astrology chart.
Right. Okay. So he can serve 2 consecutive terms of 500 years each. The first time around, he's elected and appointed by the 12 council members, and he's got about, as we would consider it, 2 months left in his first term, and so he's up for appointment. There won't be a big discussion, but they'll talk about it, and it's likely that he'll get reappointed to a second term. The vice chair, in this case, Tanya Piquet is the vice chairwoman. Each vice chairperson can serve 3 consecutive terms of 200 years each. He or she is selected and appointed by the chairman, but then after he appoints, he or she will be presented to the 12 council members for a vote and approval or not. And of course, if the person that the chairman has chosen for some reason doesn't meet the council's approval, he would need, of course, to pick another vice chair person. In this case, Tanya, the vice chairwoman, she also, because, now keep in mind, if the chairman happens to go 1 term at 500 years and he's like, I'm done, I'm going to do something else. If she's been in there for 200 years each at 400, she can also handle with the transition year for the outgoing chairman. So that's what I have it set up for, the vice chairperson having 200 years each term, and he or she can serve 3 consecutive terms. In this case, Tanya has served 2 consecutive terms already. Before I start talking about some of the major issues, do you have any questions on the stuff I just covered about the chairman and chairwoman and terms?
Right. So we have, in the structure, we have an Andromeda Council composed of, at the head of which, is it considered the head? It is considered the head by power.
Yeah, you make a good point. Think of them as, and they are definitely non-voting members. These are, by any description, executive management people. They are there as the executive managers of this board of 12. You have a chairman and or woman and a vice man or woman that have responsibility of management of the meeting, conducting discussion of the issues, protocols, everything else, but completely non-voting. And then you have the 12 ambassadors from each of the different planets.
12. So 12 plus 2, that's 14. I'm surprised.
Well, keep in mind, it's 12. And it's 12 because the chairman and the vice chairwoman have no status to affect any change. They are there just to facilitate the meeting.
Are they part of the 12? Like, is it 10 plus 2 or 12 plus 2?
No. No, it's the 12 senior members of the Andromeda Council.
And an appointed chairman and an appointed vice. I got it. I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks. Well said.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
And the center point, because I'm working on the number 13, and I've got a lot to say about the number 13. And the 13th point is the center point, which is the Andromeda Council itself.
As a balance point? Yeah, as a balance point. Sure.
Yeah. Good. Okay.
That makes sense.
Okay, great. We got that part. What's next?
Okay. Issues. There are overriding issues that are of. Let me
cut you. There's a question in the chat room which is relative to this. It says, "Why is this structure important?" And I'm going to replace the word "why" by, "What is the reason for the Andromeda Council to have decided on such a structure?" Do you know?
Well, I honestly think that the answer will come in the next set of topics that I'm going to talk about.
Okay,
because
good.
It actually addresses the predominant issues.
Go ahead, relax. It's okay. You know, you have a lot of followers, you have a lot of fans, you have a lot of people wanting to hear you, and
sure.
You know, we're very, very privileged to have you on the show tonight. So just relax. If you need a break, just tell me.
No. I'm fine.
Good.
I'm certainly very relaxed.
Good.
It's my nature. I've been the chief operating officer of 3 companies.
I know.
And so when I pause to speak, it's because I'm collecting my thoughts because I want to speak accurately. That's what's
the guy
on.
is a techie. Girlfriends, the guy is a techie.
Well, yeah, only to the degree that I want to be accurate. I'm only a techie about being accurate. And I will make this well known. I can't write a lick of code. I've never done any computer analysis. I'm a business guy. By all descriptions, I'm a business guy. So,
okay, good.
What are the big issues? The big issues are, again, globally, in terms of, or rather universally, they're issues of typical concern. Why are they important? Well, because when you get one planet that's trading with another, and then you get 3 planets, or 4 planets, or 5 planets, or 7 or 9, you've got planets. Now we're talking about multiple star systems, each having different societies, different levels of expectation, different levels of societal norms. You know, as an example, what the Burundi think is appropriate on Earth is not what the French in France thinks is appropriate. Yeah. What the Germans think is appropriate is not necessarily what the Australians think is appropriate.
Right.
You know, everything has a micro and macro view, and when you boil it,
and that's where the Andromeda Council can really help us, because we're in that process on Earth. Humanity at this era is kind of in the process of getting to know each other, getting to figure out that we're distant, that we're different, that we're common, that we're intermingling, etc. And they've already done that, certainly. So they could certainly guide us to better, peaceful references.
And, you know, why? Because, you know, it's like anything else in life. When everything multiplies and it gets bigger, it gets more challenging to manage. So guidelines are appropriate. They're guidelines, they're protocols.
Right.
And quite honestly, the chairman said to me, we've got some really relevant and important issues for the planet Earth in the next few years, because as it transitions to becoming a fourth dimensional world, and as the reptilians are removed from this planet and the malevolent subversive power structure is taken away, we're not only here to help Earth with its own transition plan. Guys, there are 2 other Earth-like worlds with only like a couple of races on each. Now, we've got how many? I can't even count how many different societies and cultures that we have on this planet. They have 2 at the most on each world. They've been occupied by the reptilians. There are 18 other worlds. They're going to be going from this transition from 3D to 4D relatively soon. Those 18 worlds have also been occupied by the reptilians and their little gray buddies. So there's, you know, when they get through helping Earth, there's a whole transition process to get Earth up to speed and balanced, and new technologies introduced, and being part of a greater galactic community. The amount of work that's got to be done is... I'm going to be busy. There's a lot on the table.
I have an opposing thought here.
Sure.
If we're going into, because I sense that we're going into higher dimensions of spirituality, and people are recognizing not only their abilities in a different way, like they're seeing things, they're hearing things, blah, 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 but also in their desire to make things better for the good of all, right?
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
That's an energy. It's flowing through us. It's flowing through Earth. Things are shifting and changing in that direction. And it's funny, actually, because every time you see some tentative experience to blast off something, it's kind of like, no, it fizzles out because someone's already been talking about it, and now there's so many people all over the place talking about it that it just can't happen. Kind of thing. But, Kiali, please don't touch the candle. That's Kiali, my kid. But I lost my train of thought. Okay, so yes, so why blast the reptilians and the Greys off if you can, shouldn't we be trying to make peace with everyone? Like, we're so intermingled. Aren't the reptilians and the Greys part of our genetic background manipulation, kind of genetic history anyway? Okay. So why would we want to... I have a
definitive answer to this question. And it's interesting, actually, that I received this answer today because I've known about the broad explanation given, but today I took some time to dive into it with them. And I'm going to give, to the best of my ability, the summary. They looked down the timeline. There was a meeting held 11 years ago, 12 years ago, something like that. And they looked down the timeline of the way the timeline exists, at least up until now, about 360 some odd, 70 years into the future. And they discovered that if they let the Draco and Hydra reptilians, assisted by their gray Orion buddies, if they allowed them to continue, there would be an event so catastrophic in the future and would affect so many worlds in a highly negative, catastrophic way. They could not allow what the reptilians have been doing to continue. They looked back to find out what was going on, and they discovered that between Earth, Mars, and the Moon, and the geometric structures in the form of pyramids, that there's this unique energy signature that the reptilians have been building over time. In conjunction with that, they have been working on creating for lack of a better word, a lower negative vibratory web. And
a low vibratory what?
A lower vibratory web. They have been trying to.
Yes.
And that's why we have 21 planets that they've all taken over and are subversively and have been subversively operating for years. They have this long-term plan to convert all of the existing frequency patterns on those planets and the DNA of those human planets into reptilian DNA, into reptilian lower vibratory frequency. And what they discovered was this green energy forming not only over our solar system, but throughout the Milky Way galaxy of this web or net that was coming together. And if they allowed it to continue, it would have gotten to a certain point in the future, and sort of like a lock has tumblers. It would go click and lock in place. And all of the vibrations of rising consciousness in humanity, all of the DNA, it would have all been changed. And the next stop is Andromeda. They would have converted the whole Milky Way galaxy. Next stop, Andromeda. And the problem is you have one species and their agenda doing a wholesale genocide on a number of human planets throughout the Milky Way galaxy, subversively. You know, it's not like you've got the benevolent. It's not like you have the benevolent or malevolent rulers up top going, "You're going to do what we need you to do." It's worse than that. You know, there's biological experimentation, all sorts of stuff, energetic feeding, negative energy beaming, but it's subversive, it's long-term, it's quiet, and their goal was to convert this whole system into a lower-level, fourth-dimensional, but bottom fourth-dimensional energy vibration. And if that moment in time had come and it had gone click, it kind of would have like locked in place. And we wouldn't be having the evolution that we're having.
Right.
I'm trying to use Earth human terms to describe what they showed me and told me about, but I was seeing it and going, oh my God, this thing's huge. You know, it's not just this planet, not just this solar system, it's 20 other planets, all human-based, that they're trying to convert into reptilian DNA and reptilian frequency. They don't want us evolving. They want us exactly where we are so they can recreate them in their image.
Right.
Here you go. Pretty draconian.
Right. So, Tolec, I'm sorry, but I'm channeling questions too, and this is one of the tough ones. You know, some scientists would say, even if something like an inner explosion, not to talk about Yellowstone or warfare or whatever, but even if the planet Earth would explode, how could that affect galaxies beyond our own, kind of thing? And that led, you know, to channeling this. It's like, what do you, you know, you've got two very different sides to yourself. You've got this guy out there who works and who has a life in the realities of society that, especially in the West right now, you know,
right.
Got to make the bread and butter. and
But
you've got...
But I'm doing with all due respect, I'm doing this full time. I've been doing this full time since January of this year. This is all I'm doing.
This is all you're doing. You've chosen to... So, okay, so how does the human live those, you know, how do you personally live that transition? That's a big step. That's like, you know, you're so sure of yourself. You're so assertive, and you so believe in this. And I believe that you've had death threats, and it can't be very easy as a human experience. Let's put it that way. How are you doing? How are you dealing with that?
Wow. I generally don't like to talk about myself, but I'll address the question. It's important to go back to September of 2010, and then you fast forward 4 or 5 months, and then 7 or 8 months, and then 11 or 12 months. And as with anything in life, I'm not a light switch. You know, I don't go, as an example, and I'm going to speak metaphorically now, to be clear, I don't go from being a Democrat for 10 years and then a Republican the next day. I'm giving a metaphorical example. And I'm not like that either. I've had many, many months since 2010, and certainly recently in the latter part of 2011, where I was the chief operating officer of our firm. I was doing that full time, and I was doing this almost full time. I was getting like 3 to 4 hours a night of sleep, and I'm like, I can't keep doing this. And moreover, given the importance of this planet and its evolution and the people on this planet, if this is what I'm meant to do right now, then this is what I'm meant to do. It was easy to make the decision to leave the world of business. I've been out in the business world for in excess of 20 plus years and more. I don't have anything to prove. I don't. So, I'm here to help as best as possible to provide the most clear, accurate information that I'm learning from my Andromeda Council contacts, and to help Earth people who are interested in learning that. That's right. I've taken on that role, and I've been doing it nonstop for a while, but full time since early January, and I honestly don't have a problem making that decision.
Okay. So
I'm not rich at all. I'm living close to the nubs, whatever the words are. I spend very little money. I'm frugal. I do what's necessary to live. And do I have friends? Sure. Do I do things with my free time? No, I'll go to a movie once in a while. I'll pick up my guitar. I mean, to that degree, I'm human like everybody else. But this is my commitment. However long this ride lasts, this is where I am.
You don't, to close this matter, because I love you, but you don't have like kind of split personality where you're one way with your friends and another way on the radio kind of thing.
No. What you're hearing is, this is me.
I know. I got to talk to Tolec a couple of hours some time ago, and it was cool. It was cool. Yeah, I like you.
Oh, thank you. Feelings mutual.
Okay,
you're a free spirit, which is interesting.
Oh man, you got to be free. You got to be free in this world, otherwise, what the heck? It's like.
Yeah. But no, really. I mean, for you or anybody else, what you see is what you get. What you hear, I mean.
So let me ask you the question I was supposed to ask you is, okay, so you're talking to humanity as a representative of the Andromeda Council, right? And what is the message they want you to relate to us?
Oh, wow. That's an interesting question. Boy, more good news. And I learned this today, too. The overriding message is we have an amazing, beautiful future ahead of us. live life, experience life, revel in life, love your family and your friends, enjoy this ride. In these difficult moments of transition, understand that they're kind of like in the blink of an eye, even this, what people would consider to be this difficult transition time, because the future that we're coming into is going to be absolutely amazing. Colors we've never seen before, beings that we've never met before. We're going to get to understand that we are part of a greater spread of humanity throughout the cosmos. It's kind of like, I don't know about grammar school, but it's kind of like we're graduating out of grammar school and going into high school as a planet. There's a whole universe that we've never been exposed to before, and we have an amazing future ahead of us, and we have an amazing future with some people who really care about us a lot, so much so that they would step in and say, these people are in the process of evolution. They deserve to be free. That was the other half of the equation. It's like, okay, we can't allow this timeline and this mess to continue because two reptilians are going to try to mass control millions and millions and millions of people, and it's wrong. We can't allow this. That was A. And B is, these people have a right to evolve as free, sovereign people. They've never had that opportunity to be free and sovereign and make decisions on their own. They deserve that opportunity, and they deserve to do it unfettered, not messed with. That's the message, is that we have a beautiful future ahead of us, and we have a right to our own future.
Right. The judgment in this life is so heavy on everything that we decide to do. Judgment and control. It is so heavy, and talk about freedom. But when you you just allow yourself to live in the moment, and I know it's freaking hard when you have a job and you have to do things and all that. Been there, done that. But when you have the luxury of moments when you can just be in the moment, even if it's kids running around like my kid is right now, mimicking what she's trying to tell me because she knows she's not allowed to talk to me.
Sure.
Go eat. Yeah. Go eat what you want, darling.
Kids have their own energy. Absolutely.
Okay. So, my gosh, you've got to come back on the show. I want to do another show. I don't know when my next free slot is, but I got to have you back. I got so much. Let's talk about children next time. Children in the Andromeda Council, and you can between now and then you can channel. But Quinny's been saying so silent, and I love her to death, and I want her to. Quinny, if you have your own personal question to ask, please go ahead. And otherwise, are you ready, Tolec, for a list of a bunch of questions from the chat room and people who have been texting and messaging us?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's certainly a lot of logistics and details that I could go through, but suffice it to say that the Andromeda Council, as a governing body, is more of a body that tries to provide an environment that people can cooperate in and respect.
I'd like to, Tolec, for that, I'd like to introduce you to some. Kerry, I'm on the radio. Just do what you want. Thank you. I'd like to introduce you to some of my United Nations Association friends, because I think that would be a real topic of interest to them. So I'm going to go ahead and do that in private, and I'd love for you to develop that, in this informal way again very soon on the radio.
Yeah, I would be comfortable with informal conversation. Yeah, that would be all right.
Yeah. And don't worry, my UNA friends are very informal.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. But Quinny, let's go ahead with the questions.
Okay. Tolec, would you mind taking one of the questions from a caller first? They've been on hold for such a long time.
You know what? This is your show, so go ahead and do what you feel is appropriate. Really, I mean it.
Okay, I have Austin, and he has a planetary hunger question for you. Hold on one moment. Austin, you're on with Tolec.
Tolec, can you hear me?
Hey, Austin. Yeah, you're fine. Go ahead.
Hey, Austin, too. Good to hear from you again.
Good.
I have a question. It has to do with, 900 million people are, living under the starvation level. 1,700 or 17,000 people, or children even, die every day of starvation. And it just seems to me like there's a lot of people out there that have a lot of really good ideas about what can be done to be able to help people. And it seems like a lot of these people are even starving because of, state-inflicted, society, to where it's become acceptable to where there's like a ruling elite class, a, working class, and then a peasant class, which I feel is just kind of a crime, And, me, I'm really about the little person, and I just wondered, how long is it going to take, I understand that as humanity we have to come together and we have to solve these problems for ourselves. And maybe this question kind of goes in line with what you were talking about earlier with, issues that the Andromeda Council has on the table. But
Good question,
really,
Austin.
Yeah. It's really, okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Peter Maniero, thank you. This answer has so many components to it. I guess the first place to start is from a guy who puts his pants on like everybody else does every single day, and this is regardless of sex. There are so many inhumanities in this world today. There are so many children who are starving that shouldn't be. There are people who live in places that don't have normal resources, clean water, and on and on and on. I honestly don't know if Earth in its current form and society as it exists today can address all of the needs of all of the people that are starving, of hunger, of lack of good housing, of lack of access to food. The money system, the way it exists, prevents that.
Sure.
I honestly believe that we're going to have to go through this transition, and roughly, in a year and a half, 2 years from now, as we go from being a third-dimensional planet to a fourth-dimensional planet, a lot of these issues, quite honestly, are going to go away. And I mean no disrespect, but a third-dimensional body, this suit that we wear, it is not the totality of who we are.
Oh, sure.
The totality of who we are is the fourth-dimensional beings that we are going to become again. And there will be natural gifts and capabilities. There will also be technologies that will eliminate a whole bunch of these problems that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of like, it may feel like a dark road in a long, dark tunnel. And I hate to use metaphors, but there is light at the end of this tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
There is light, and the light is the system will change, and it must change because at all levels it's broken. It has been broken down for a while, but it's in the process of death.
Yeah.
The system of hierarchy and class and structure and money is dying. As evidenced by X hundred, I don't know what the number is now, but X hundred number of bankers from all the top global banks
right.
that are resigning. And the list goes on and on of human expressions of how the system is breaking down to the point where it finally will completely break.
Right.
That process of you can't get a butterfly until a caterpillar wraps itself in a cocoon and goes through a metamorphosis. In many ways, that's what we're going through.
Mm-hmm. And the pyramids are breaking down from the inside out. Austin, that was a great question. I find it very important to break it down to our most basic humanity, because it's not easy. It's not easy to live this life.
I wish that I had more immediate answers, but I don't. And the answer that I gave you is the best one that I can give you. And the only addendum would be have no fear at all, none whatsoever, zero.
Right. And I want to add to that, Tolec, because, I come from the more spiritual perspective of things. And the message that comes through me is that to remember that we are all souls who initiated and co-created and wanted this expression of self with a big S. And we're all going through that process too we've chosen karmic memory in our cells, in our what have you, we've chosen gifts and abilities that connect and communicate between souls and spirits. We've chosen all that, and all these gifts and skills and the truth of the reality that we created of ourselves is coming out now. And I always like to wink at astrology, because the Hades to the Aries point for us astrologers tells it all. But that's an inside joke, right? and that's another aspect of, I'd love to touch with you, Tolec, is, in Genesis it talks about the Nephilim and the Elohim, and how basically we were gifted these beings that from which the hybrids we are made of gave us also gifts. It says in Genesis of sorcery and other things, technology, etc. And I was wondering if, you commented on this phenomena that was coming along, and it seems to be like a Big Bang effect, where things shift. Because that's another part of it, is that we as humans living on this earth, time is slow. I'm sorry to say, it's like, did I really have to go through all this to reach this point? And it better be a Big Bang, because otherwise I'll be disappointed. And I won't be disappointed with anything else but myself, for having chosen it. But,
okay.
How can you give us a quick answer as to how the Andromeda Council psychological or anthropological side of subcommittees, whichever one that may be, deals with that part, and the involvement, physical involvement in our reality in terms of matter, materializations and technology, etc., that we can expect.
Okay, I believe I heard two questions in there. I believe I heard, once, if you will, once the Earth becomes a formal member of the Galactic Federation and the Andromeda Council, because when you join, you get both. Then there are guidelines, there are ways of helping, and in terms of assessment, how can they help spiritually? Well, in the front end, during the assessment process, interestingly enough, number 13 is the spiritual and emotional Mastery Dimensional Assessment Board. So they look at a planet and its people and see how far along they have evolved, both emotionally and spiritually. As part of, now here's part two of your question, which I think I'm hearing, is what kind of help can people who have had psychological problems, or who have had severe emotional problems, or who've been under whatever kind of stresses, there's an amazing, for lack of a better word, there's an amazing healthcare system that's available through the use of light, sound, vibration, frequency, color, and of course for those people that will still be physical. But all of those modalities will be available as we evolve and become fourth-dimensional people. There's an astounding amount of healthcare services that there's like, in the Andromeda Council, there's 6 biospheres. And they've got 6 biospheres dedicated to helping a whole bunch of Earth humans that are going to be having a difficult emotional, psychological, and theological difficulties with this transition.
Right.
Because they're going to be learning information which is contrary to what they've learned over many years.
Right.
So there's help. The short answer is there's a lot of help. Absolutely.
Good. We're glad to know it. Quinny, I'm sorry I cut you off in your questions. Go ahead for the next question.
That's okay. We have a question from Kathy in the chat room, and she asked if there was some way that they could prove they are really helping the human race by giving a set time for something to occur that we can watch for.
Rather than me go into the detail of this, on the 5th page of the Andromeda Council website called Frequently Asked Questions, I specifically state what people can look for as a marker, identifier, as a sign for the triggering, the final destruction of the last reptilian base. It's there. She's welcome to go look it up.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
So I'm going to cut once again. Those reptilian bases that have been blasted, the latest one, I believe, was under...
They're all under sea. The last 4 were all under the ocean.
Under the ocean. I heard that one was under, a state. I can't remember which state. But one was on, and people have been hearing bangs and God knows what.
Well, back in the tail end of last year, from August through December, the Andromeda Council, led by the people of Procyon, went and cleared out a number of underground bases. There was one that was a lattice work of bases that they took out in August of last year in the Washington, D.C. area, in the hills, the landscape running from D.C. up into the hills of Virginia. Consequently, there were also, and subsequent to that, there were bases all throughout the U.S., Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Nevada, Southern California, that they took out. They extracted people, beamed people out, sent reptilians to the far edge of the universe, destroyed and or cleaned out these bases. And that was the very early part of the clearing out process.
And is this happening around the world?
Yeah, all the underground bases are gone. And a week ago, I gave a report on the last reptilian undersea base being cleared out. And that means, that's a literal, quote-unquote, cleared out, which means no more reptilians, no more technology, no more mess. The structure is still there, and that's what this person was asking about. Can you give us a sign? Well, when the base is destroyed, they will see a sign.
Does that have anything to do with the earthquakes that have been going on and the Ring of Fire?
Good question. No, the earthquakes are simply a continuance of this beautiful mother, this beautiful female planet Earth, going through her transformation. There's a gentleman who goes by the YouTube channel of L911, and he's done some amazing amount of research, which I've been able to corroborate. But essentially, there are repeatable cycles that happen on not only this planet, but on other planets and other galaxies. Each planet and galaxy has their own geometric pattern, and it's a cycle for the evolution of a star system and a planet. And there's a specific reason why these earthquakes are happening these days, why they're happening with the frequency that they're happening these days. It's because this planet is on an evolutionary clock, and that clock is ticking, and we will go through evolution. December 2012, all of 2012, all of 2013, we will become a higher level fourth dimensional world, and the expression of that evolution is these earth changes known as volcanoes and earthquakes.
Right.
So it's just the natural expression of this planet going through what it's going through, nothing less.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. I was going to make a sick joke, but I won't. Quinny, take over.
All right. I have a two-part question from Maria Sanchez. First of all, she intends on traveling to hear the members of the Andromeda Council speak, and she asks, will those people who are intuitive leave the presentation close to 100% convinced that these beings are from the fourth dimension? And when you are on the fourth dimension, are you better able to communicate with those who have, quote-unquote, died in the third dimension?
That's a good question.
Okay. All right. I'm going to take the question in reverse. And there's some baseline concepts here. Certainly, Astrid, you're going to understand this. People are not what they see. Astrid, you look at your friends, you look at your children. You are seeing a soul that has a spirit essence that's wearing the suit of a body over it.
Right, right.
It's not the body containing the soul and the spirit. It's the soul and the spirit wearing the body.
Mm-hmm.
A body is a bioelectrical
complement.
Yeah, you're right. Complement mechanism that, whether it's 65 years, 92 years, 81 years, or sometimes 13 or 29 years, the body is either going to break or wear down.
Right.
It is a biological body. It is not the totality of a person. So when a person dies, they don't die. That's the whole point. They don't die. Their soul and their spiritual essence goes someplace for a temporary period of time and either decides to come back on Earth and take another new 3D Earth life. And if they've done that enough times, they may go and say, you know what, I'm right, I'm done. I've learned as much as I can in a 3D Earth setting, and I'm going to go live a 4D life somewhere. And everything that I've learned tells me that that's the real process. That's what's really going on. And we're not what we see in the mirror. So that's the back end of the question. Now, the front end of the question is, I can only tell people to, yes, your mind is an important thing, but stop trying to prove things. Go inside your heart. Go inside your spirit. Use your intuition and your heart and your spirit to process and measure what you feel is real and right for you or not. And that's the best answer I can give to anybody who will be thinking, oh, they're going to prove to me they're real or not. I'm not I have no reason to go there, no need to go there. When the people when Maka Nahiwe, when Ambassador Tonka, when Vice Chairwoman Tanya come and speak, they're going to tell what they know. They're going to share what they know. They're going to be open. They're going to be loving. They're going to answer questions. The same people from the 4 plants in Andromeda Council. They have nothing to prove. Nothing. They're here to help.
Okay, good answer.
Yeah, questions like this get me going. Sorry.
Yeah, that's cool. I just extended the show another 30 minutes, Tolec.
I'll be happy to hang around with you. Let's go.
Very cool.
Thank you.
I have a question from Wee in the chat room, and he or she asks, was any member ever kicked out of the council before?
Good question.
I have two answers. A, I honestly don't know because I've never asked the question from that perspective. Here's B. I do know that in the natural evolution of the council, some members decide to stay and some decide to go on their own and decide to continue, a more independent path, and that's okay. Right. It really is. That's as much as I know about the comings and goings of different council members.
Well, from the logical standpoint, if you look at the history of how things progress, you want to look at all possibilities, and that's basically what our souls are going through is all possibilities. Right now, we're coming to a point, and so in that, we have all possibilities in the most negative ways. That, God help us, we're living.
but the good news is we're coming to a greater vibration of sovereignty and free will. That's what this waking up process is all about.
Yeah.
People who did not have a voice before standing up and saying, no more.
Absolutely. No, everybody's getting a voice. Look at BTR.
Yeah.
Thank you, BTR, for not having, dumped us, as is usually the case on paranormal shows. Okay, Queenie, do you have another one?
Yes, I do. I have a bunch more. Rocketman asks, he says, are there any councils other than Andromeda Council? He's heard of many other groups from other people's channels, such as Cyrus Star Nation and Galactic Federation of Light. Are these similar groups as the Andromeda Council, or just helping our cause?
Boy. Another multi-part question. You know what? I can only address what I know. So here we go. I'm aware in great detail of the Andromeda Council at its many levels. I am aware to some detail and some depth about the Galactic Federation of Light. I've heard of the Orion Council. I've heard of the Sirian Council. I don't know what they do. I don't know how they work. I don't know who comprises them. I mean, if they're the Sirian Council, then you'd think they would be based out of the Sirian star system. But as an example, one of the members of the Andromeda Council, one of the senior members from Sirius A, is from planet Tolec. So I don't know what comprises the Sirian Council. I don't know what's going on in somebody's backyard about somebody else's council. I just don't. Except for the Galactic
in the peer, I've lost the word in English, but in the highest level of the Andromeda Council, what planets or what systems or what dimensions do they represent?
Okay. This one's easy. Thanks. There's a small percentage of planets that are 3D like Earth. Physical, organic, gross matter. Most of the planets and star systems that are members of the Andromeda Council and the Galactic Federation are 4D and 5D. And they're mid-level fourth, upper-level fourth, all throughout the fifth. That I'm aware of, the top level is sixth, kind of like mid-sixth level. I know some detail about the fifth, and people in the fifth dimension are actually able to travel from their home world to another world without the use of any technology. As a matter of fact, I've learned that most times when people are seeing, and this is most times, when people are seeing orbs or balls of light around Earth, it's highly likely that they're seeing a group of 6 or 7 or 19 or however many people, 6-dimensional people or 5th-dimensional people that have decided to work together. And they're here visiting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're just here visiting.
Yeah.
And that's a definite aspect of a 5th-dimensional person. Now, a 4th-dimensional person can travel. For example, Astrid is 4th-dimensional 2.5 years from now, and she wants to go visit some relatives in France or in Spain or in Germany. She can use her mind and go there, and she's there. She won't need technology. That's an aspect of being a 4th-dimensional person. A 4th-dimensional person can't do that to another planet unless they use a Stargate. A 5th-dimensional person can. They can go from planet to planet to planet without the use of technology. And they usually do it together. They travel together. But they don't have to travel together. Soul groups are not mandatory. They're like, hey, would you like to get together and work on this species of tree and investigate it? Yeah, sure. And 6 of them get together and go, all right, let's go. And off they go. It's voluntary. The whole soul group thing is people working together because they want to. Extended answer, but that's the answer.
Awesome.
Okay. Wonderful. I have another question for you. Let me see. According to your information and knowledge, do you think that the Andromeda Council is the online one? And have you heard of the Actuarian Council?
All right, another 2-part question. I don't know what the person means by, is the Andromeda Council the online one? I mean, there is an Andromeda Council website that I built from scratch because of help from my friends, and it went live in May of 2011, first week of May. To the degree that the Andromeda Council is online, the answer is yes. Part B of that question is
can we speak directly to Andromeda Council executives?
Go ahead and give it a try if you want to. You're welcome to try if you'd like.
How would we know? Like, I channel a lot of different entities, right?
No, I didn't know that. No, I don't channel. So I'm no help to you there.
Okay. So how would I know if someone from the Andromeda Council came to tell me something? Well, how would I recognize that person? Is there any?
Well, you could, as an example, you could reach out. However you do what you do, you could reach out using your Astrid essence, your Astrid communication essence, and reach out to Ambassador Tonka, who's the spiritual sage to the Andromeda Council.
Nice.
However you do that, you could reach out to him and wait for his reply. You could reach out to Vice Chairwoman Tanya of the Andromeda Council and say, Tanya, this is Astrid. However you do it, reach out to her and see what you get in response. That would be my simple recommendation. As to the questionnaires, the second part of that person's question, matter of fact, the most senior member of the Andromeda Council is from the star system Arcturus, and their planet is Patola. Now, is there a separate Arcturus Council? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I know about the Andromeda Council. I know all about the Andromeda Council.
Right. Do you know if there are any representatives of the Andromeda Council that belong to other councils, maybe in the 6th or 7th or 13th dimension?
Good question. You know what? I honestly haven't asked. I can tell you what I know. I know that there is a man by the name of, I may mess this up, but Nadal Ta'ano, who is a liaison between the Andromeda Council and the Silver Legion. And I know that I had a couple of conversations with Tanath of the Silver Legion. And the Silver Legion is, in essence, an independent police force of really good guys, you know, kind of like light warriors. And they clean up that realm in between the third and the fourth, where a lot of the reptilians and the astral, because the astral is like number 2 or 3, but in that realm there are like 5 or 6 layers inside that realm. The astral's in the middle. Right. And I know that this guy Nadal Tanano,
I totally see it.
Yeah, he's a liaison between the council and that group because they've been helping in the cleanup effort. So I know about that.
That's very cool.
That's funny. I've never asked about the higher level.
Steven Spielberg should definitely do a show about that.
Wow, yeah, well, yeah. But, you know, I should ask because, the people I know are predominantly 4th and 5th. Those are the folks I communicate with. But, I haven't asked about the 7th or the 9th or 11th.
Right.
Just because that's not what I'm learning. That's not what my job is.
Ask them if the Fibonacci sequence goes on beyond dimensions too, because then you could ask about, okay, we're between the 3rd and the 4th, but we're hoping to be in the 5th, frankly. 3 plus 2, 5. 5 plus 3, 8. Then we hop on into the 8th, which is like unification. What is it called? Infinity number, etc., etc.
Oh, sure.
Ask them if they. Okay, I'm gonna switch to Quinny because I'm taking over the show here. Quinny, go ahead.
Go ahead.
That's okay. I have a question from Insights of an Empath, and I'm going to add a little bit to her question from what I've seen in chat. What language is used for communication at the council meetings? How do you communicate to each other, and how do you stay in contact?
Very good question.
Okay, another 3-part question. All right, here we go. The predominant language of the Andromeda Council is a language that, if it were spoken, it would be a lot like Sanskrit. Whatever the original Sanskrit language was on Earth a long time ago, that's what it would sound like. And that is the default, that's the de facto language that's used on the Andromeda Council biospheres. Now, that having been said, and yes, actually, that language, its birthplace is out of the Andromeda galaxy itself. Okay, part B. How do they communicate on biospheres? Telepathy. My mind to your mind to somebody else's mind. Minds talking together collectively. It's communication. They just don't use their mouths and their ears. They communicate vis-a-vis their minds. What was part 3? Part C?
I was going to say, is this guy a computer or what?
Well, I have my limits, believe me.
Yeah. Good to hear.
The third part was, how do you keep in contact? How do you stay in touch?
Right.
Oh, okay. 2 to 3 times a week at least. It's the same that was described when Astrid did her introduction. I have telepathic communication with either Tonka, the ambassador, Tanya, the vice chairwoman, the commander of the primary Andromeda Council Biosphere, Nihishka, the head of defense for all of the biospheres.
The head of the what?
Head of defense, the guy who's responsible for safekeeping for all of the people on all the biospheres.
Defense. Okay.
Protection. Yeah, protection. Probably a better word.
Interesting.
Azar, the chief medical officer. Talk to her too. So all of these people I communicate through telepathy. They also, when I'm talking to them, they'll show me visions of what something looks like when they're describing a scene. They're like, here down in this ocean ridge, this is how big this complex was. See these buildings? Well, they're gone now, but this is what they look like. They're always giving me visual impressions.
Right. What color are they in? Black and white or colored?
No, color.
Color.
Oh, yeah.
And are those colors some of the colors you don't find on Earth?
For me, not yet. For me, I have, right now I only have Earth references. I know that when I go up on the biosphere, things look very, very different. There's a...
you know that the Pleiadians use the colors. Are there any Pleiadians in the Andromeda Council? Yes,
and here's the answer. And matter of fact, I just learned this today. So I'm going to take it from the top and work my way down. This is my male. Just bear with me. This is my male logic brain at work.
Saturn and Mars are retrograde.
Good thing it's not Mercury. All righty, here we go.
You're in the shadow. You're in the shadow.
Not me.
Mercury retrograde shadow.
The Pleiades is a constellation of 7 stars. It is a constellation, as seen in the Earth sky, as described from a lot of people, from a lot of indigenous people, a lot of Native Americans, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we have a constellation known as the Pleiades, also known as the Seven Sisters.
Right.
Why the Seven Sisters? Because there's 7 predominant star systems.
Right.
One of those star systems is Tegeta. If you look at think of a clock face, it sits somewhere between like 1 and 2 o'clock as you would look at the Pleiades. The lead planet, the planet with the most clout, is Dakote. D-A-K-O-T-E, Dakote. Dakote also happens to be the planet of origin and ancestry for the Dakota, Lakota, and Nakota people, and other Native Americans of what they call Turtle Island, also known as the United States.
Right.
So, is there a Pleiadian representation on the Andromeda Council? Yes. The planet Dakote. And it's very well respected. Very, very well respected. Yep.
Beautiful.
Next question.
Well,
we
do have a constellation question from CGB. I'm going to bring her on now, and we're going to find out if you answered her question or not. Hold on one moment.
Okay, go ahead.
CGB? Oh, it didn't.
Hi,
there we go. CGB, hi, you're on there with Tolec.
Hi, Tolec. Hi, Astrid. Thanks for taking my call.
Hi, Lovey.
Hello.
So my question is about Cassiopeia, and I remember listening to the story of the Dakota people and the mention of Shidir and the Wahini. I think that was Wahini, maybe. And I wanted to ask about the Cassiopeia constellation, if that's part of the Andromeda Council or if anyone is from there. I have a connection with that as I have a mole that is in the shape of Cassiopeia, so I've always felt like the Andromedans. So go ahead, that's my question.
This is a wild question. Here's one of those synchronicities. Last night, after working until 11:30, 11:45, I popped in a movie. The movie was Serendipity.
I love it. That's my favorite.
So here we go. And, I didn't need to spell it out, but there's John, what's his name, drawing the shape of Cassiopeia on this young woman's arm. Here's what I know, and it's actually not related to Native American mythology. The people who had come to be known as, and I'm digging out of my brain and research from the Titans and Olympians Greek gods story that I was told from the Universal Historian of the Andromeda Council. The people that were known as the Titans and the Olympians they are originally from Cassiopeia. And today, the Olympians that are still from Cassiopeia have a very good working relationship with the Andromeda Council. Very, very good. And I think it's a kick that I just watched this movie for the first time in probably about a year or so, last night, and I'm watching him make this big wide W. So, and here you are asking. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Synchronicity.
Very cool.
Yep.
Serendipity.
Thank you for calling, CGB.
Yep,
Thank you.
thanks.
I have a couple of 3D, 4D questions for you.
Okay.
Okay, the first one is, when the three members of the Andromeda Council... Oh, I believe I asked you this one question. I am sorry. How can 3D beings, physical matter, which needs care and maintenance, actually work together with 4D plus beings, spiritual matter?
Crystallization. It's the process of crystallization in the body. That is, the matter has to transform into crystallines. If you study, like
yes, very good, absolutely, very true.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt, Astrid, but you're correct.
No, go ahead. I want your side of the story.
Yeah, I was just gonna agree with you and say part of the transformation, actually one of the key pieces of the transformation from a 3D organic gross matter body transforming into a 4D fine matter essence spiritual body is that 4D body, its cells and molecules become crystalline in nature. It's the vibratory frequency of the 4D body to be crystalline in nature. I think right now the only way that 3D people and 4D people work together is through people who are, like myself and others, who are 3D, but they're getting information, if you will, from upstairs. And I'm a pain in the butt because they keep asking questions. I ask and I ask and I ask and I ask and I take notes and I ask more. And as long as I keep asking, they keep telling me. In terms of how we can work together today, that's how it happens. But like Astrid was saying, absolutely, there's going to be an evolution and a transformation of 3D to 4D, and we'll become crystalline-based beings. And Astrid, in advance, I apologize for interrupting you.
No, I always talk to myself anyway, so whoever's there to hear.
Okay.
Well, you're very gracious. Thank you.
Oh, come on. Okay, Quinny.
Okay, we have a question from Brian. What was the green orb that fell into a lake in Litchfield, Connecticut on Wednesday night?
There was a green orb that fell into a lake in Litchfield.
Yeah.
I don't know. I honestly don't.
Isn't that part of the triangle?
I'm sorry. Isn't what part of what triangle?
I read about there's a certain triangle within. I believe it's New York, Connecticut, and a little bit of Massachusetts.
Yeah, they have this magnetic field triangle that when you go into, it vibrates kind of, you get all these
and there's
more
always a lot of
negative
activity
entities than you'd want to around that vibration.
I didn't know that. I mean, I know that places like Washington State and Sedona, and certainly in northern Arizona have certainly a higher vibration where the veil between the third and the fourth is really thin. But I certainly didn't know that Litchfield was one of those areas.
This one is negative, though. Don't you agree, Quinny? This one is lower vibrational. It withholds the entities down to the ground. Like the ghosts in those areas are more earthbound, and you can feel them.
Huh. No, I've never heard this. No.
Yeah, it would be interesting to do a geological, what's that thing that I've been watching on Netflix? Fact or Faked?
Oh, those guys, yeah.
They're so perfect, you know, they're so perfect. It's so, I don't know.
I think it's called the Delaware Valley Triangle.
I would
is it?
At the three, yeah, I think it's called that. I know it was either Delaware or Valley, or because the Delaware River runs through it, or something to the fact. But at each of the 3 points, there's like a little cave. Some of them are very nicely done. One has an obelisk outside the front. Another one has a little stone carving outside of it, and nobody knows where they came from.
My only real input, my only valuable input here would be that if you think about the fact that there are no ley lines that run through the Northeast, but yet where has been the perceived financial power of this country? New York City. You know, and even more than perceived, it has been the financial power of this country for years. You know, those northern latitudes, it's all about power and money. You know, London is the same way. And so New York City, all things considered, is a really quick drive to Litchfield. It's not that far at all. You know, being raised in the Northeast, I know exactly where those places are. And so, the level of heightened spiritual energy and awareness ain't there. I'll tell you that much. It's not.
Yeah, I was just channeling really, really, like, I don't know. No, this isn't going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, it's new for me. I've never heard it before, but I'm not surprised. I mean,
I'm wondering what the relationship to these battles with the reptilians underground and those greys. You know that in where I live, I've met this guy who, and I've actually taken him home, and I felt the damn things. But there's greys in the area. There's a lot of greys in the area, and there's also a military base. So. But at the same time, I'm hearing good things about the military. And so I'm wondering what, you talked about at the very beginning of the show, you talked about this kind of UN police subcommittee with the Andromeda Council that dealt with defense and protection. And I was wondering how much interaction or influence or are those the guys that are out there that sometimes switch off our defense mechanisms to the point that we hear it in the news?
Oh yeah. I'll take this issue in pieces. They, of course, people in higher dimensions and even more advanced, highly peaceful, third-dimensional people from other places have technology far more advanced than we do. And as an example, the people from Procyon and the planet Cana, they are one of 3 major peacekeeping forces that are responsible for the 15 quadrants of the Milky Way galaxy. And their responsibility right now is to be the lead team in helping to take out this subversive reptilian occupational force that's been here for a long time. Why? Well, for a number of reasons, including the fact that within the past 12 years, they freed themselves of reptilian occupation. So you've got the Milky Way galaxy, 15 quadrants. I'm aware of at least 3 peacekeeping forces there The Andromeda Galaxy has 28 quadrants, and I'm aware of, at minimum, 4 peacekeeping forces, and they're responsible for their own quadrants, because space is a big place, as you know. Have the people from Procyon stepped in? Absolutely. They've turned off nuclear weapons. They've made them go away. I lost track of the number of times that they've stepped in to prevent missiles going off. Absolutely. So are they the good guys? Oh, sure. That's a good thing. Yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah. How about other questions?
Yeah, to go. Can I just ask one more question, just to close on one aspect of this warfare thing, in terms of good guys and bad guys. You said earlier that they basically intervened in the process of a potential outcome that they saw this Earth going down the path towards. And what exactly did they do? Are they responsible for the split timeline that we're living right now? Or are they more subtle in influencing the amount of gamma ray energies / spiritual awareness coming in through us? Okay. What exactly is their intervention?
All right. Two-part question. Part one. Their intervention started with themselves, led by the people of Procyon and some other mixed Andromeda Council races. Up until late January, mid-February of 2011, there had been a war going on in space for 10 years, 11 years, where they had been battling, the people of the Andromeda Council, led by Procyon, had been battling the Draco Reptilians and the Hydra Reptilians and their Orion Gray buddies out in space. And this is a cleanup effort down on planet Earth to get the Reptilians and the Greys off this planet before this planet evolves and transitions to its next 4D evolutionary life stage. So you have that proactive intervention to step in on our behalf, a police action to level the playing field, to get these malevolent occupiers off this planet. That's A. B, we're talking about a wholly different subject. The subject is, have they gotten involved in the evolution of the planet? No, there is a cycle of life that was laid down a millennia ago. No, I don't know how long, but a long time ago, there was this imprint on this planet and on this solar system and on this galaxy and on upward, and this imprint has a cycle, and the cycle keeps repeating until it's time for the planet to evolve. That's purely intelligent.
It's in a spiral. It's part of a vortex. This is spiritual, yeah.
It's right. It's spiritual. Well, yeah, we are going to become.
It's spirit in its own evolution. Let's call it that way.
Yeah, it's natural. It's a natural evolution. It is intelligently designed evolution, but it's natural evolution.
Right.
The Andromeda Council didn't do anything to trigger it at all.
Right. They're actually a part of it.
Right. They're here to help us through our own evolution. They're here to help. That's all they're doing.
In a more humane way, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And did we get through that whole question? Did we go, Quinny?
Oh, your whole question or all the questions
I think we're done. I think we're done. Go ahead and ask another question, Quinny.
Okay.
Do you need a break? Do you want a break or a drink or something?
We have 8 minutes left.
We have 8 minutes left. So if we can continue offline for another minute, but people, if they want to listen to the last hour, they'll either have to go to archive or call 646-200-3700, and they'll be able to listen to whatever is left of the show. Tolec, I wanted to thank you so much. You're so full of information. It's really interesting. And thanks for coming on the show, and I hope we do this again. And if you want to plug in anything right now, go ahead, and we'll just continue freelance after that. How does that sound?
Boy, it's been wonderful. There have been some unique questions, some questions I've covered before, but it's always interesting for me because whenever I have an opportunity to answer questions, I have an opportunity to think of something from a perspective that I haven't thought of before. And I can be, as I said before, quite a pain in the butt because I ask them questions ad infinitum on end. But all I'm trying to say is that I always have the ability to learn something when I get into an interview like this. So thanks for having me. I think that the best thing that if there's something good that I can leave with people, it would be that it's an amazing life that we have right now. I know that some people have a really difficult view and are having a difficult time of thinking about a great now and a better future. But our future is going to be amazing. This is going to be just one glorious, beautiful planet, and life's just going to get a lot easier. Unfortunately, this is a time of transition. It just is. And, it's like anything else in life. Every moment of every day, breathe. Breathe in and out. Go outdoors. Enjoy the fresh air. Enjoy the sunshine. Walk up on a hillside. Feel and listen to the wind blowing through the trees. Whatever you can do to get outdoors and walk away from technology, do it. That's where you can get in touch with your spirit and your soul and your heart, because that's where your heart is.
Yeah.
And I need to do it more. I'm working too much. I need to do it more myself. So that would be my recommendation. Go out and enjoy life.
Mm-hmm. So that has to deal with one of the questions from the chat room. How much of a mental struggle is this transition going to be, and what's the best way we can prepare for the shift in reality?
Good question.
I just answered that question.
Yes,
absolutely.
You did.
Yeah, absolutely. Go out and breathe in nature.
Right.
Spend time outside.
Right.
Spend time outside. It's amazing what's out there. I was sitting down reading about 3 days ago, and this little hummingbird came over, poked his little nose into the plant next to me and took some drinks out of this. He was probably all of like 12 inches away from me, flitting around. He had his fill of nectar, took off. About 20 minutes later, this little monarch butterfly came flipping by, sat himself on the chair next to me and went, hi, how are you? And off he went. I've got ground squirrels and there's all sorts of creatures out here. But nature is beautiful. It's gorgeous out here. And, nature is beautiful in the Northeast. It's beautiful in the Mid-Atlantic. It's beautiful in the Pacific Northwest. Just go out and spend time in it. And that's where you will come to a place of peace in your own heart and your spirit. That's the best answer I can give.
Beautiful. Wow, Quinny. Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody before I don't know how many minutes we have left, but there's a lot of people who have called in. If you want to connect, 646-200-3700. And otherwise, thank you very much, everyone, for coming and joining us tonight. There are so many questions that are left unanswered, and like Tolec says, just be the best you can be for yourselves, and enjoy the moment. And we're going to continue with our questions.
All right.
I have a question from Morgan. What advice can you give those whose family and friends think we're crazy to follow and believe all this? Morgan really trusts in it.
Good question. I would recommend to Morgan or anybody else that has a belief in this, a trust in it, a solid understanding of all of the dynamics that are affecting what we're talking about. It's like anything else in life. Don't put yourself at risk. And if people start to get curious and ask you questions, then provide information that you have knowledge of that is at the level that they're asking at. If they don't ask any more questions, don't give any more information.
Right.
If they do ask more questions and they're leading to a higher level and they're showing awareness, provide answers at the level that they're at only.
Mm-hmm.
And I would recommend not ever pushing your beliefs onto anybody, whatever they are. Share them openly if people are interested. If not, go about your business.
Mm-hmm.
That's my best answer.
Okay, this was.
Yeah,
I've got to finalize the radio show. This was Tolec of the Andromeda Council. Go to www.andromedacouncil.com and listen to this archive one more time to get the full grasp of things.
Well said, yeah.
It's always great to talk with you, Tolec. I'm glad we did this. Thanks to everyone in the chat room. I'm going to say thank you in writing. Go for it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. I enjoyed it. I mean that sincerely. It was a lot of fun.
Good. Yeah, so, I'm not going to go there, but Quinny, if you have a couple more questions, let's go for it and see where... Yeah.
All right. I have another question from chat
I have a question. I have to interrupt. I have a question. So, talking about the paranormal side of things as like past lives and et cetera. The other day I was on someone else's radio show and one of the questions was, I never even thought of it or meditated on it or whatever, and I can't even remember the question, but it had something to do with what do interdimensional beings think about life after death kind of thing. Do you have any insight as to the different philosophies of spirit? Because I've had actual interaction with intergalactic people talking about philosophy, religion, and notions of life after death, in fact. So I was wondering what your experience of that was with your contacts.
Okay. Here's my only point of reference. I think I have two of them, but I'll give you the first one. And this harkens back to 1993 when I went and joined the commander of the biosphere on those 3 separate trips back into time in his little scout craft.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that story one day.
Yeah, without going through the details of the trip, the end result of why the trip happened, why he took me, is because as mid and upper 4th dimensional beings, and of course there are, as you know, 5th dimensional beings that are part of the Andromeda Council as well, and the Galactic Federation, they don't experience death. I mean,
no, they don't.
They don't. I mean, unless a soul says, "I don't want to continue. I want you to exterminate me," and those are very rare circumstances. But other than that, a 4th or 5th dimensional person can go 7,000 years, 8,000 years as a crystalline-based, fine essence spirit matter being and have a long, fruitful, productive life, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 years, and then they go, I think I'm done with this fourth dimensional life, and it's time for me to step up to the next vibratory level, called the fifth, as an example. And so they go to the fifth, and they get a whole new set of experiences. That was the reason why he took me on the trip, because he didn't have an emotional reference point for why Earth people go through depth of sadness, depth of grief and loss when a 3D Earth person dies, because they don't experience death.
Right.
And other people that, and basically, as a reference, as a completely different reference point, if a fourth dimensional person really wants to come down here, he or she can use technology and manifest a third dimensional body.
Right.
And they have to use a little piece of technology to keep their molecules intact while they're here, but they can come here. And if for some reason that body gets injured or damaged to the point that that body that they've manifested dies, their fourth dimensional essence goes back up to the craft or the ship or some other place. They can manifest a third dimensional body whenever they can, whenever they want to. It's no biggie. It's a temporary biological suit that they just manifested. Why? Because one of their gifts is to create matter out of fourth dimensional spirit essence.
Right.
So they don't, death is not an issue for them. It just isn't. And it's just not. And he wanted to understand. I mean, the whole purpose of that particular trip was, I want to understand, Tolec, why you are feeling sad watching the death of this person. He wanted to see the full length and breadth and depth of my emotions as I was going through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but that's my whole answer to that one. I hope it helps.
Tolec wants feedback.
I'm sure it does help.
Okay.
Other questions? Other questions?
So we like questions. Tolec, do you have a question for me?
Do I have a question for you?
Yeah. Or does the Andromeda Council have a question for me? One of my experiences was that these beings came to me and they said, interesting and blah, blah, blah. And then they said, but, you're interesting. And I said, okay, why am I interesting? And they said, because you have a view of beingness that is estranged from our reality. And we're getting curious about it, and it's kind of interlinked with this kind of other dimension. And I'm not going to say what number, but...
if it's all of my references, or at least the greatest percentage of my knowledge comes from what I've learned about fourth and fifth dimensional beings. I honestly don't have any depth of knowledge, or even cursory knowledge, about what people experience in the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 11th. I just don't. I don't have any reference points for it.
Yeah, I think you do, but I don't think that you just, the reference points aren't in the material. They're in, at least you got to go to etherical or ether. Mercury, and then ether, and then light.
I do understand from everything that once we are in the fourth and above, time as we measure and know it down here does, and all sorts of things are possible. We
I can't hear you anymore. We went to ether too fast. Seriously. Quinny, are you still there?
I am still here. Tolec. Oh, he dropped off.
He dropped off. That's okay. Yeah. Let's see. I want to thank everybody for coming, and I haven't had even the time to put it into the chat room, so I'm going to do it now. Thank you all Oops, coming. I'm so gauche. Coming, love to all, love. That was really a nice show. I hope he calls back in. I wonder if he's going to call back in, but
I don't know if he can after we've gone into archive. But if it's possible, would you mind asking him to come back? Because there are some more questions, and 3 people have called in and raised their hands.
Yeah, I see 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know.
The first one up there under me, that's CGB.